Good morning. So I had a good day in London yesterday. We had some meetings and we went out for some dinner and some drinks. And so on the way to Paddington this morning, I thought I would walk past Buckingham Palace and tell you the story of how my mum met the Queen. So yeah, we grew up as a working class family. My mum was an incredibly creative person. She worked for Windmill Hill City Farm, which is an awesome place. It does what it says on the tin. It's a farm in a city. She was an artist, a really good one. And so her job was to make lithography prints and create signwriting. She was very good at that and do all sorts of different artistic pursuits, really. One of my earliest memories of Windmill Hill City Farm was it was the guy in the cafe, and I know this sounds trivial, but I don't know if you remember the old Tetra packs of milk. You can see them on the screen now. And this guy, he could open the Tetra packs perfectly, like very neatly. And every time I tried to open them, failed dramatically. I just made a mess of them. And for me, he was like an avenger for doing this. It was one of my earliest inspirations of, I want to be like him. So yeah, my mum's studio, she had a studio she'd be doing all of her art in, the lithography and the signwriting and such. And there was a cat. And I always remember the cat staring up at the skylight in the roof. And I didn't quite understand why. I thought the cat enjoyed looking at clouds, maybe, or some such explanation. But my mum explained it's because the cat likes to see the pigeons fly by. And even then, I don't quite think I understood it's because the cat would like to eat the pigeons. But one day I came home from school and the cat was there. We adopted the cat because it didn't have a home, which is why it was hanging out in Mum's studio. I loved that cat. He lived 18 years. Good cat. That's what Mum was like. She was a life giver. She died recently on Friday the 13th of all days. So I now reject that superstition, and I'll forevermore think of that day as the universe has a sense of humor if you choose to see it that way. And I choose to, for that particular day and what happened on that particular day. So anyway, what does it mean for a working class family to for my mum to meet the Queen is quite a big deal. Why? Well, as a working class but creative, this is not a sob story. But the point I want to make is that you seek validation from the establishment without realizing it even. It might be subconscious, but all you really have is the external feedback loops of life as you go through the chaos that we pretend that we have control over. All you have is what you learn from the outside. As a child, if you put your hand in the fire, you wouldn't do it again. That's the feedback loop working. And I might say one of the biggest forms of validation you can get is from the establishment. And what do I mean by the establishment? Well, any power structure existing, rule set, school, work, the law, there's a good one. These are good things, like how are you supposed to live your life, you know? So anyway, back to my mom and the city farm. There was a big exhibition planned for Hyde Park in 1989. It was the ASDA Food and Farming Exhibition. And as you can see on the newspapers here, it's a big deal. I think one of the quotes is the biggest exhibition in Hyde Park for 150 years, you know. It was a big thing. And I do believe the 150 years before, it was the Great Exhibition. That was Queen Victoria's time even. So this was, yeah, it was a big deal. And so my mum working for the City Farm, and it being the ASDA Food and Farming Exhibition, she had a job to do, which was to create an interactive exhibition, because there were kind of lots of people there. Hundreds of thousands of people visited Hyde Park over those few days. And she, you know, the City Farm movement, I think there was a number of city farms. They wanted to represent themselves well. And so how do you make an interactive exhibition before computers? Well, you use woodworking skills and some creativity. And so, yeah, my mum created this whole thing. You pulled a string and a balloon went up, and you opened a box and there was something to feel inside. And you can see a small preview on the screen of what she made. And so it was such a big deal. The Queen visited, as you can see on the newspaper clippings that I've managed to find. It was quite a big deal. She arrived with her shoes, walking across the grass. I get the sense she was quite a cool person, so I don't think she minded that. And so, yeah, of course, like, she was going to take a tour of the various exhibitions, and so my mum's exhibition was one of those. The security detail obviously came around, and thankfully she didn't put any bombs. My mum didn't put any bombs in there, so the security was fine. And then the Queen came, and she loved it. Here's the picture. On the left, there's the representative for the City Farm movement, and on the right is my mum. Classic 1989 hairstyle right there. She made that whole thing you can see behind. It's a cityscape with a farm inside. The Queen loved it. She was like, my goodness, who made this? And my mum was like, me. And they had a good old chat. She really, every time my mum told the story, she just glowed. She said, oh, she was such a lovely person. We had a great old chat. We'd spoke about Prince Charles and how he'd loved Heath Robinson as a boy. And I think they just really connected as mothers. She was cool, the Queen, and my mum. And so then we get to this bit where the Queen said, what's in that box? And my mum said, well, Mum, you'd have to put your hand in there and find out. It's about having the experience of feeling what's in that box. And the Queen turned to this poor member of Parliament, I believe Nicholas Soames. I apologise if I've got the name wrong, but I remember that being the name my mum said at the time. Turns to Nicholas Soames, says, put your hand in that box. Of course, he's not too pleased that this scraggy artist has essentially just told him what to do, but he had to, because it's the fucking Queen telling him what to do. So he puts the hand in the box, and the Queen says, what's in there? And he goes, oh, it feels like wool, Mom. Which I found hilarious. And the Queen had a few more minutes of conversation with my mum and moved on. Really wonderful memory, as you can see in that photo. It was a real moment. And so I have a question about this. And I've thought about this quite often since. The Queen is like in charge. Quite rightly so. I'm not challenging that. But she's surely therefore in charge of all of our experiences as well. But she didn't have the experience. I get it. It's because of the rules. She's the Queen. She's not going to put her hand in the box. And what I'm saying isn't she should have put her hand in the box. But it's always struck me as a bit odd that the person in charge of all of the experiences that we have didn't have the experience. It's like, oh, it's a shame. Nicholas Soames wasn't too pleased either. So yeah, it's just left me with this question in my head. Like, I'm just checking out the window, everyone. Just give me a minute. I'm just checking if the rules are working.
Beer barrels thrown at police, cars on fire, and the shouting of Islamophobic slurs.
From the air, the scale of Israel's 15-month bombing campaign in Gaza is clear. This shows the destructive force of 85,000 tons of explosives.
Oakland, California sure does have a homeless problem. Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather into communities.
Entirely. This whole street. Gone. Gone.